Hey everyone, I'm Larry Walsh, and this is Channelnomics, the Network Effect. Referrals have long been a valuable source of sales opportunities. This is a lot of what the entire idea around tapping into communities, tapping into influencers has been about. Is that if somebody knows somebody, then they can bring you into an opportunity. Uh, the Net Promoter Score, something that many companies use to measure customer loyalty and propensity to continue buying, is based on this idea. Would you refer a brand or a product to a friend or a colleague? Uh, this demonstrates the power of referrals. In fact, referrals, according to research Channelnomics has done, referrals actually have a 60% higher conversion rate than leads generated through conventional marketing mechanisms. Companies that do referral programs tend to have, about 33% of them have higher revenue rates. And opportunities that start with referrals or engagements that start with referrals, they tend to have about 25% greater value over the lifetime of the engagement. I mean, these are pretty stark numbers. Yet referral programs are often underappreciated. Again, same research that Channelnomics has done. We found that from the vendor community, whether it's the channel leaders or the sales leaders, they look at referrals with a bit of skepticism. They don't actually know what they're getting out of them. They don't know what the value in those opportunities are. They tend to believe that those sales would have happened anyways through conventional channels or conventional sales methods. And they certainly don't see or appreciate the expense of having to reward referrals or the referring parties for the opportunities that they bring to them. And a lot of this has to do with the way that referral programs are managed. They're not very sophisticated. They're not very automated. They lack transparency. I mean, to be blunt about this, is that most referrals that come in from third parties, they go into a black hole. Once the referral is made, they often don't know what's happening. They often don't see the activity, and they certainly don't see the potential of getting any type of reward until it actually happens. Well, there's a company out there that's trying to address these problems, and it's CoClo. Now, CoClo is a startup. It's actually fresh out of the gate this year. It was founded by Matt Cook, a former channel chief who had a vision for how to do referral management better. He's bringing transparency and trust by brokering relationships between non-transacting partners, influencers, and other people, bringing them together with companies that have product so that they can create this end-to-end line of communications that takes referrals and brings them to market and makes them actionable, and how everyone can get involved and get rewarded in the process. Now, CoClo is a partner of Channelnomics, and so we thought it would be a good idea to bring them onto the network effect to talk about referral management, these referral systems, and what they're doing to make referrals better for vendors. Again, I'm Larry Walsh. This is the Network Effect. Let's start networking. So with that, welcome to the Network Effect, Matt Cook.
Larry, thanks for having me. It's good to be on here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on here. So look, as I said in the intro, referral programs and referrals as a sales method or a medium, not new. Um, so what inspired you to found, CoClo? What was it you saw in referrals and referral management that you thought needed solving?
Yeah, so interesting question. I get this one quite often because I've had this idea for about 15 years now. I've done jobs within, I held CRO roles, I've done VP of channels roles and kind of bounced back and forth. I just have an appreciation for go-to-market and selling and how do you increase bookings and revenues through a company. But even though the idea was there, I didn't have it fully baked until recently. And a lot of this is just seeing what's happening in the marketplace. And when you look across channel strategies today, we talk about ecosystems. There's a great place. There's plenty of tools for transacting partners. We want multiple partners. We want influence partner routes. We want people who are going to make referrals and things like this, which has a direct impact to sales and revenue. You see the challenge of cold calling and going after cold leads versus warm leads. How do you get more warm leads? And I just felt like now was a time, more so than ever in the last 15 years, to where this becomes hyper important.
Well, I think it's important. Look, one of the things that we find at Channelnomics is that referrals are effective. Our research finds that up to 60% more effective in terms of the leads generated from referrals convert 60% faster or better than those that are generated through other demand gen or lead gen mechanisms. Yet they're still kind of underappreciated. And referral programs themselves are really not easy to pull off. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, I'm curious to hear what you're seeing or what you think will actually change that paradigm.
Yes, it's interesting you say that because it's definitely picked up the same. Companies will invest tons into BDR teams, SDR teams, have lots of discussions around top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, marketing, how do you get more in? Everybody's chasing the cold opportunity. And then there's on the other side of this with your transacting partners is this conversation of, oh, partner created, partner led versus our sales team created and sales team led, right? So I think we're kind of addressing the conversation in certain silos, but we're not addressing the conversation as a practice, the practice of referrals. And I think what happens is people usually have their referral program, but they're not paying enough for it. But yet, when you look at resellers, the difference between them being fulfillment and a value add is did they create a deal? So in the conversations, we put a lot of value on that practice, but yet we don't build a program that actually truly values it. So I think for me, that's the key that's starting to change. I think people are starting to get there to the practice is what's important across all routes. But let's kind of move to that conversation as opposed to saying, how do we create a resale channel that does a lot of partner created? How do we spend millions of dollars in marketing and SDRs and BDRs to get cold leads? Instead, let's figure out how we can get a warm lead. Because I think, to those percentages you gave, that's the difference in close rates. If you've got somebody coming to you that's a warm lead and says, I've already built instant credibility and trust, now you just need to execute on that, you're going to have a higher chance of closing that versus having the person picking up the phone and dialing for dollars and trying to meet those. Now, I'm not suggesting stop doing cold outreach. What I'm suggesting is find a balance and really put value on what that warm opportunity is worth.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think the thing that I'm really picking up on what you're saying here is that difference between cold and warm opportunities.
Absolutely.
It amazes me. I sit here every day and I don't know, I get about a dozen cold messages out of, LinkedIn saying, asking me, what's your app development strategy? I'm like going, oh, okay, you said you looked at my website and now you're asking me about my app development. Where did you find that?
Right.
You know,
Swipe delete.
where did you see that I actually am interested? I could possibly be interested in this, or the endless amount. The other one that really gets me is the endless number of people reaching out to me saying, "Oh, we can generate leads for you. We have our lead services." I'm like going, "Okay, if you actually can generate leads, then how did you get to me and what makes you think that I'm one of your targets?" And that brings me back to you and what CoClo is tapping into in terms of warm opportunities. Again, Channelnomics did research on this. And what we found is that 70% of the referrals that go through these types of programs, they're coming from personal networks. They're not coming from, this entire like, hey, I saw something, therefore I'm going to hand it off to you. There actually are warm connections. Where do you see that, playing into your model, and how does that contribute in terms of what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, it really falls behind a thesis of what CoClo is about, right? So we view companies as owning the customer and companies own the contract, but they don't own the relationship. A relationship is something that's built over time. It's very individualistic. You can't just call somebody and you have a relationship overnight. The only way you're going to get that relationship in a good place quick is a nice handoff of that relationship, the introduction, right? So we take referrals one step further. Yeah, you could refer through our app and we have the exchange and it automates contracts and incentive exchange and really simplifies your process of doing referrals. But I don't want to overlook the main part, which is that warm introduction, right? Because that warm introduction is the key of, am I going to spend the next 30 to 60 days with presentations and trying to establish credibility, or because one of the valued sales reps that they've already got a strong relationship with said, hey, I know you've got this project. You should look at this company. Let me intro you to them, and then do that handoff. That handoff is everything. And I think that's what increases the success rate of those referrals. And my aim is to make that much higher than 70% even, because I think when you put a standard process behind this, it's been 70% by accident, right? People are just now creating referral programs. Referrals traditionally over the last several decades have been your highest performing sales reps love being a contributing force to their customer, and they'll get together in meetups in a bar with 5 or 6 other reps, and they'll share leads, right? It's been very informal. If we actually put a profile, a process behind this, and contractualize it, and take the fear of doing a referral and the what's in it for me of doing a referral, and we go ahead and establish all that, I think we could push that percentage up from 70% success rate to 80, 90.
I think that that's the when you're describing that peer-to-peer nature of this, and I think that that's the other thing that's probably making CoClo different than what we see now in referral programs. I mean, so when I look at referral programs, and most of the vendors we deal with, they're basically modified forms of deal registration.
Yeah.
So you got, you're handing me something, you're telling me that you're giving this, maybe there's an incentive, maybe there isn't. There's no transparency, there's no connection. You don't, me as the referrer typically doesn't know what happens afterwards. And that really does create that disconnect. Having that level of transparency, in that, not just transparency from one side, but from end to end, and all parties, what you're providing them really does, shine light on what's happening, at least with it, once the referral is made.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that goes back to metrics. When you're doing any kind of sales leadership role or channel leadership role, this transacting partner model, whether you're talking VAR, SIMSP, there's a metric that's key. Did I book something? Well, in a referral, it's not so black and white. And from a marketing perspective, such as marketing qualified leads, and did I get the meeting booked if I'm an SDR, BDR, right? They kind of create some leads, but or some metrics to support that. And what I suggest here is when you're doing a referral program, because it's not as easily tracked until you put together a platform, is what we're suggesting. You've got to start looking at other metrics to really show success. And to me, if you get a warm introduction and you just built a brand new relationship overnight, that's a metric that should be tracked, right? Because now it's not just about the deal, it's about entrance into a new company that maybe didn't close something in the next 30 days, 60 days, but you've got a new relationship and entrance into a company that you could close something over the next year. And I go with that because we had this one metric at a reseller company that I worked for. We didn't track the big deals all the time. When we got into a new customer and we built a new relationship, if our first deal was selling a single printer, we celebrated, right? Because the hardest transaction is your first transaction, because that's what really justifies that trust. And so I kind of go back to this with the referral program is it really requires us to get our head around a different set of metrics. That's not just how you measure transacting partners, which is a deal booked.
Okay, I'm going to key in on that one word you use, transacting partners, because that's what everybody cares about. And one of the things that we've heard from people who run channel organizations and sales organizations, one of the reasons why they underappreciate referral programs is because they don't fully appreciate the value of the lead that's being brought in. It's like they don't know whether that lead would have come in through a conventional channel, and what are they paying for, what are they incenting, when there's the person making the referral maybe isn't doing anything. But on the other side of it, though, I often get asked questions about, well, how do I engage with non-transacting partners? How do I work with influencers? And in fact, I recently was at a retreat where we were talking about this, the difference between influencers and referrals. And one of the key difference that was made is that a referral happens at the beginning of a sales process. Influence can happen at any point. I'm like going, but they're both influencing. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that we really also need to take into consideration, is that anyone can be a non-transacting partner.
Yeah,
And I think that
absolutely.
that's also one of the things I think CoClo is addressing better, or in a better way than a conventional referral model.
Yeah, and I like your comparison of the two because I agree. And here's the thing: if I'm a company trying to start up this new route to market, this referral route to market, do I care if there's a deal already identified? Right? Influencer versus referrer. Do I care at this point in time? Because what I'm trying to do is break into new accounts. And if I can break into new accounts and get introductions, whether that's from an influencer or a referrer, and I have a process in place to get that, track that, and send for it, and then I enable the rest of my sales team to actually create the opportunity if it's not already identified, then to me that's a win. We're getting into new accounts in an easier fashion than just calling. So I like that discussion that you had this retreat. It sounds like a really fun discussion. But for me, it's break it down to its basics. Both are good. Both can be used. What are you trying to get out of it, and be clear on that, and then track for it.
Matt, one of the challenges, though, as I just said, is that the reason why there's an undervalue of referrals is, well, what actually happens with them? What do you do to actually draw out those metrics to demonstrate value, demonstrate activity? I appreciate what you do in terms of transparency, because if I'm referring something, I want to know whether or not it's am I going to get a reward from it, and where am I at, and or what stage is this at? But how do you then also demonstrate the value back to the companies that are engaging in it, the ones that are actually getting the sales or getting that opportunity to sell out of this?
That's a great question because to me, that is the key question of do you have a successful referral program or not? And going back to the thesis of this, most referral programs right now look at this as a deal by deal type thing. You have an opportunity for me, sign this agreement. I'll give you a little percentage of the deal. And then we take your deal and then it goes off into the void. Oh, and if we close it, that person's got to trust that I'm going to pay you on it, what you're actually due. So this is where the app really comes into play because it does offer a lot of visibility. The submitting company actually submits and maintains the submitting company or person maintains visibility of that opportunity. The receiving company who's trying to get these referrals updates that opportunity inside of the app. Now, I don't look at this as a second CRM. It will sync with your CRM. It'll work nicely with your CRM. But the key is you've got to provide that feedback because you're not just looking for an individual deal referral. You're trying to create a flow of referrals. And nothing will kill a program quicker than not giving feedback as to what's happening with that opportunity. Where is it in a deal stage? What's its value? What is my commission that I could expect to make on a monthly basis or an upfront basis? Right. And when you see this, it gamifies it. Think about you go out and you buy a stock. How many times do you check that stock price on a daily basis, right? You get excited about that because you actually see lifetime feedback. We're trying to create the same thing in CoClo. And I can promise you in this referral program, if you actually do the updates and you let the referrers know where those opportunities are, they're going to give you a second one. And they're going to give you a third one and a fourth one. And now you have a flow and now you've really created a program that's going to contribute to ongoing growth and success of your organization.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to remind everyone about what that value actually is. So customer engagements that start with a referral, they tend to have 25% greater value than those that come through cold demand generation. And another important thing that came out of the research that we did is that 33%. So companies that have referral programs, they typically drive 33% higher revenue than those that don't. I mean, and this is from and this is thinking about referral programs, like I said, in a very conventional, very non-transparent, that lacks the type of trust and facilitation that you're providing. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing how these numbers may change over time as CoClo becomes more ingrained in a lot of the organizations that you're targeting.
Yeah, no, I love that data, Larry, because if you think about it, it makes complete sense. If I'm selling and reaching out to customers as a OEM manufacturer, I'm usually trying to sell a product, right? And I could create a deal for that product, but that's usually what I'm focused on. That's what I'm driving home to get that PO. But when I receive this referral, that referral isn't because that other OEM manufacturer rep knows your product catalog. They just heard that there's a security investment that that customer needs to make, or there's a complete hybrid cloud investment that that customer needs to make. And you got introduced not to one point products budget, but the entire project budget. Then it's up to you to figure out how to expand those deals. So to me, that data that you threw out there makes complete sense just by the nature of the way those opportunities are introduced to your company.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up this point though, because as I said, in complete transparency, CoClo is a partner of Channelnomics. We really like you and what you do, but you are a medium of facilitating a process. You are not the originator of the process. So even companies or individuals that are engaging with you, they still have to do something to actually make this work. What advice or what is the guidance you give to adopters of CoClo in terms of actually maximizing the potential of your platform?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're hyper focused on not having any conflict of interest with current partners, right? We're hyper focused on that. So we do a middle process. We do it well. We focus on being the best at that process. It enables scalability. It enables a lot of things. We will never introduce features that puts us in a spot of competing with VARs. We're not going to compete with SIs. We're not going to compete with TSDs. In fact, one of the big TSDs is looking at us to actually drive opportunity to their top agents. So we become very complementary to current channel partner types. Look at us as a new route that enables driving demand to all your other routes. So that would probably be the first and foremost thing that I would say there. The partnership is good because we don't create that conflict, right? We do stay in the middle. Now, that's not to say that we're not out there having conversations to build out this network. And I'll give you an example of this. Most companies in their alliance strategies, as they're doing B2B alliance facilitation and referrals, can only handle 3 to 5 alliance partners. Why? Well, because contracting is difficult. You have to do one-on-one contracts with every alliance you touch. That is today's world. Enablement is difficult. You have to go out there and do enablement of all the sales teams of these 3 to 5 alliances. So CoClo provides you a simplified way of doing this different. You contract with us, the other alliance contract with us, and by the way, now you get access to every OEM. Now they're an alliance potential, right? So your alliance strategy just grew from 3 to 5 to maybe 10, 15. We have a hand in it because if you're signing up with us, it's in our best interest to make sure that every company's sales team out there has product knowledge of the products that make sense, that's ancillary, that is complementary to the products that they're selling, and we help you scale and grow that way. So my encouragement is continue to work these relationships as you did. You've got to do the hard work. You've got to invest in your channel. At the end of the day, this is your channel. This is your sales route. But there is an opportunity to simplify it and get some assistance and raising the knowledge, awareness, and the enablement of those other sales teams so that we can really accelerate that deal flow coming into your organization.
Fantastic. So, Matt, final question here. How can people find you? Where can they get more information about what you can do for them?
So we're a little bit hidden. So I would say the easiest way, CoClo.ai, not CoClo.com. If you want to remember CoClo, just think coffees for closers. Everybody in sales knows that movie. Everybody in sales knows that saying. So coffees for closers, CoClo.ai. The AI really is going back to the very beginning part of their conversation. Even though artificial intelligence is as big right now, we still believe that relationships is an authentic intelligence piece. It comes from one-on-one interaction, and the quickest way to get through that is through that introduction. So www.coclo.ai, all the contact information is on there, and happy to engage.
Fantastic. And of course, if anybody's interested, you can always reach out to Channelnomics. We're happy to help put you in touch with CoClo and Matt's team. So, Matt Cook, thanks so much for joining us here on the Network Effect.
Thanks for having me. Larry, it's fun.
I hope everybody got something out of that conversation with Matt Cook at CoClo. It really is a tremendous platform for streamlining and improving the referral management process for everyone involved in the go-to-market chain with referrals. If you want more information about CoClo, please, as Matt said, check out CoClo.ai, or you can come to Channelnomics and we're happy to broker an introduction for you. If you like what we're doing here on the Network Effect, please hit like, hit subscribe. Also, check out our other podcasts, Changing Channels and In the Margins, and all the great content we have at channelnomics.com. Again, Channelnomics is here to help make the channel a better place, a better medium for everyone. Until next time, I'm Larry Walsh.